Hi, podcast listeners. My name is Madison Hopkins, and this is Modern Ways. Modern Ways is a guide to eco-friendly homes. And on this podcast, I combine sustainability and real estate for people who want to change their home environment. In each episode, my guests and I empower you with fundamental knowledge so you can create your eco-friendly home and thus change the world around you. Thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate you being here and hope you learned something new. So, let's hop on in to the modern ways of eco-friendly homes. Hi, podcast listeners. On today's episode, we have Alex Ryden, founder and CEO of Guest House. And
Hi.
Alex, Hi, do you want to introduce yourself for a moment? I know you're all the way in San Diego right now, but you're based in Denver, right?
Yeah, we're based in Denver. My name's Alex Ryden, and CEO and a couple other hat wearer of Guest House. We started the business in Denver about 3 years ago, and today we operate between Denver and Boulder, our two markets, and we just launched Colorado Springs actually last week. So yeah, we're really excited, and I happen to be for the next couple of weeks just in San Diego visiting with family. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm glad we finally could make this work. I know we've been talking about it a little bit back and forth, so I'm glad that we're here.
Yeah, likewise, for sure. You have a podcast, so honored to be included.
Thanks. So yeah, Guest House, y'all are I'm spacing on the word, but you help me with the word. What's I'm looking for? Showcase?
We stage homes, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I blank on that word so much.
No
I'm like,
worries.
it's a showroom, but it's a staging. Yeah, so you stage homes.
We
And
do a little bit of both, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So exactly, kind of both those words work well for us, stage or showcase or showroom. Our model is unique in the way that we get hired by realtors to stage homes, but we're delivering much higher quality furnishings, art, and goods by way of providing showroom space for brands and makers. So we work with about 450 local makers and then about 50 direct to consumer brands, which gives us access to just beautiful sofas, original artwork, amazing pillows and throws and candles, things that you would buy online or potentially shop at a local farmers market, flea market, or boutique store. We're bringing those to beautiful real estate listings across Colorado.
And so that's sort of where the staging and the showroom meet, is within a house that is like open for open houses or is being sold. So you're essentially using that house as your showroom, right?
Exactly. And not so much as our showroom, but in the true spirit of Guest House, the showroom of all the makers and brands that we work with uniquely within each home. So each home is a new opportunity to include new brands, new makers that are working hard to get more exposure and traction for their business. And it's a showroom space for them. So we don't charge on that side of our business to provide access for those companies and those makers to get showroom space. It's really completely free. You work with us, bring product to the space or allow us to pick it up. We showcase it, we provide photo content for you, and we help you grow your business within the real estate market. And then on the flip, the realtors benefit by just having amazing looking furnishings.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool business model. I noticed on your website that y'all don't charge the vendors, I guess would be the appropriate term,
Mm-hmm.
for utilizing their art in the house. And I think that's really cool. That's why I wanted you on my podcast, is because you work with local artists, local craftsmen, and I think that there's really something special about using local people and keeping that within the community. And then I did also notice on your website that y'all said it actually helps people to be able to like understand the home when there's pieces in it. And I actually have seen that homes sell, 40% more when they're staged?
Yeah, so I think homes in general, there's a lot of different statistics out there, but in general, a vacant home versus a staged home, if you're looking at that comparison, a staged home is going to sell anywhere between 50 to 80% faster. And within our model, we actually are then comparing us to other staging companies. We're selling our homes 40% faster than other staging companies, just because the traditional staging model is, from what we've seen, is stockpiling a lot of inventory, from low cost sources, which makes total sense because you got to get a lot of furniture to jumpstart your business. But that tends to be Wayfair, Home Goods, tends to be, Target. And those homes tend to then start to look the same, and lots of stagers do that. So one stager's furnishings doesn't really differentiate them from another stager. They kind of, it's kind of equal opportunity to access the same goods. You really, the only nuance between a lot of staging companies sometimes tends to be the person you're working with, where our model really excels in the sense that we have furnishings that people don't have access to because of our commitment to helping people sell, and because of our focus on promoting brands and makers. We're accessing like original artwork and amazing throws and pillows and amazing sofas that you would want to touch and feel and sit on. That ends up making a home staged by us versus a home that's staged by another company actually stand out and actually sell faster at the end of the day. So that's something that we're really excited about. And then the goal is, and also for the furnishings inside, connecting the buyer of the home with our interior designers to say, hey, we're offering you a free design consultation. Congrats on the new purchase. We can guide you through and let you know what's inside the home already that you could easily purchase, or we can make some other recommendations based on your needs and budget.
So y'all do free home design consultation is what you just said?
Yeah, we're just starting to offer that now, but really it's to the buyer of the home. So if someone buys the home, we connect it in through the realtor, the listing agent, and then we say, hey, congrats, we'd love to help you out. Here's our lead designer who designed the home originally. They'd love to talk you through kind of a great approach now that you are moving forward with this beautiful property. So it allows us to then sell in these brands and makers that have trusted us with their goods. And it allows the realtor to provide a cool little benefit that's free to the new buyer.
How many vendors do you work with?
We work with over 500 today, so we're definitely growing. I think the vision with the business is always be local wherever we're operating. So as much local that we can inject into homes, the better. We tend to work with national brands when it comes to sofas and mattresses, but everything else, we're so committed to building better showcase and showroom opportunities for, to use your words in the beginning, for these local makers. We see that, there, especially during COVID, there's a huge challenge to grow your business and get more exposure when less people are walking into boutique shops that were already getting a small amount of traffic. And, we want to be able to provide as many sale opportunities and as many traction points for these businesses and brands. And I think wholeheartedly, at the end of the day, we believe that it's a numbers game, and you how many ads do you get from West Elm or Amazon, other marketplaces that really pound in like the need to buy something. We're not pounding in anything, but we are increasing the likelihood of a sale because we're providing repeat exposure through our homes with marketing on our Instagram, marketing on our email, open house tours, realtors doing open houses themselves, that home selling and us putting in another home. It's a numbers game to us at the end of the day. And we think a piece of art that is beautiful that we've selected for a home has a buyer. It might not just be coming out of that initial home. It might come after a couple more homes, and we're continuing to build more content so everyone can get their eyes on some of the great work that people in Colorado are producing.
I also think it's sort of a hands-on thing too. You get to see it not just online and not just in its own store like with the other artists' pieces, but amongst other things, which is where art usually ends up is in a collection of someone's personal home aesthetic.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think in our opinion, in our research, we see people tend to be more committed to their purchase, tend to spend a little bit more, and tend to have a little bit more trust in a new brand when they can see a product inside a real home. They can see it styled inside a room that has 8-foot ceilings or 10-foot ceilings. They can have natural light on it. It's not just against a white seamless and fluorescent light. There's a lot of kind of authenticity to our marketing and our presentation of products that we believe is a little bit more fair to the online customer at the end of the day too. And then for the shopper, it's just a great experience if you're in Denver to be able to come to a home and see something in person before you purchase. So yeah, that's exactly it.
So how does the purchasing process work? If you, so like say I'm looking for a house and I walk into an open house, or say since I'm a real estate agent, I'm showing a client a house and they're like, oh my gosh, I love these stools. Where do I get these stools? And I'm like, well, actually, this home is staged by Guest House. They're actually a local brand and you can purchase them. Can they purchase them on the spot or do they go to your website?
Yeah, so typically most of the items on our site take 1 to 2 weeks to receive, but all the shopper has to do is go either to our website or go to the landing page for that home, just search for the product, or they can just go to the landing page of the home and see it right there. And then they purchase on our website. We quickly get in touch with them, get their delivery information as part of the checkout process, and just handle everything. So all they have to do is just add to cart and purchase. On our end, what we do with the realtor and our design team is just, if it's an original piece like artwork or a handmade, end table, for example, that can't be replicated, we then work to find a replacement piece for that home, swap that piece out, hand deliver it, super white glove. If it is something that can be repeated, we leave the item in the home and we say, awesome, let's leave it here, and then we work with the maker or the brand to reproduce and deliver a new one via drop ship. So I have two methods, but the experience is the same for the shopper. They simply go in, they purchase, and the item's delivered to their doorstep in 1 to 2 weeks.
Nice. And how did you choose the vendors to work with? Do they apply to you? Did you reach out to some of them?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix. So, when we started the business, we really just were looking around Denver and through social media, through referrals, we started to kind of accumulate, 12 makers or however many we had relationships with in the beginning, that a lot of them we still continue to, work together in bigger and better ways today. We started kind of just organically finding people. And then since then it's been a bit of just a referral storm. So lots of people referring friends or other makers in to get, the benefits that you get when working with us, which is the free photo content, the free showroom space, and then the marketing on social media with our Instagram and emails as well. So I think we've just hopefully done a good enough job with the makers we work with for the first few years that'll continue to kind of naturally compound and refer new quality makers in. And then, beyond that, we have a team of people who are always looking online, on social media, to really find the next up and coming makers that would be a good fit for our business, and just reaching out. I mean, it's really a option for the maker at the end of the day to choose to work with us. Obviously it's their business. They have their own prerogatives and their own goals, but if it aligns well with what we can deliver, we'll gladly work with, tons of different makers. They don't have to have a certain amount of followers or be a certain amount of maturity. We work with everyone, that just from like people who happen to be, teachers, but also like doing pottery on the side. We help sell their products, all the way to people who are like quitting their day job and being super focused on scaling a business and needing kind of the assets and support that we can provide.
Nice. Do you have any criteria that they need to meet, like as far as their products go or the quality of the products?
I mean, there's definitely a level of quality that we need to abide by within our marketplace. We aren't as open as Etsy, where anyone can join and you can add product and it can be like, kind of like back, what's a crocheted blanket with,
Oh,
your dog's
macrame.
face on it. Oh, well, we have macrame makers and they're great, but like there's like, people sell crocheted blankets with like, saying on it or something, or your friend's grandma's like doing that, and that's awesome, but that wouldn't necessarily support the types of homes that we're staging. So we do have a filter on, okay, if we're staging homes between 500 to 5 million, what are kind of the homes between 500 to 1.5, what do they really need, what does stuff between 1 to 2 need, and then what are those kind of more in Denver, air quotes, super luxury, right, where it's more than that 5 million, what types of furnishings do those homes command, and then how are we backfilling our maker partners within those. So there is a certain level of quality that we do need to be able to engage with our designers and work well with our homes. But it really just comes down to, are the products in a category that we use in homes, right? So we focus on furniture, art, decor, And then within those, there's tons of subcategories. So does it fit in that? And then is it something that is going to be of similar quality to what we're working with now? So pretty vague, but at the same time, our designers are kind of the gatekeepers at the end of the day. We sign up lots of great brands, lots of great makers, and we're always trying to find ways to engage and work with them. But we only have so many homes each month, and then our designers are the ones that are driving the decisions on what brands to work with. And I think it just provides putting them in the seat of a gatekeeper provides a better experience for the realtor, but it really provides a better experience for the maker, because then it's, you know, that your product will be featured next to other great product, and the photos will just be gorgeous at the end of the day. So that's the goal, kind of net at the end of every project outcome is the content beautiful, and does the home look just amazing? And it's kind of natural selection in that way.
Y'all do have absolutely beautiful photos.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, really nice photos on the website, Instagram, Pinterest. I've looked at all of them. Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. I agree.
Well, we're so we started the business has gone through just great kind of growth, and we've been super fortunate, but I think it's also a willingness to evolve and move towards where the need is versus kind of forcing a square peg in a round hole. And I think, you know, we started the business as it actually started in my house, where we wanted to just sell goods out of my own home in Highlands, and it's an old Victorian house, and I had a bag brand at the time, so we just wanted to sell a few brands and just sell out of a house and just make it really kind of personal and just by appointment. And pretty soon more and more people started coming through, and became a little too much for just, you know, the original kind of idea and vision, but it was growing, so it was hard to ignore it. And we had some friends in real estate at the time where they had asked, hey, well, what if you did this inside our homes and we pay you to do it? It's called staging. And I said, all right, let's try it out. So we got into staging 2.5 years ago on accident. And then we kept growing and kept, again, listening to needs and understanding what the market's like, and what, you know, what do our number one customers, realtors, need in that market. And by way of that, started owning all the photography and capturing photography for not just the brands that we were originally shooting for, but now shooting for MLS, shooting for prints and newsletter content for the realtors. So part of our business now is we're content producers. So we produce over 700 retouched images a month. And I think that probably makes us one of the largest content producers in Colorado. And those images are then distributed with all of our brands and makers, as well as our realtors. So we take a lot of pride in, so it's meaningful to hear you like the content we're putting out there, because we have an in-house photo editor now. We have 8 photographers on our team. We're really poised to be able to shoot any day of the week and deliver the same quality of content each time. And that's part of our staging offering, is we deliver the staging, we deliver the photography, and we deliver the marketing. So those are 3 things that we think are really important in helping sell the home. And so our bigger vision now and today, as we're growing, is just owning the power of presentation for realtors and brands and makers, and knowing that as we shift more towards this new norm, which is the post-COVID world, and starting to see more buyers purchasing homes online, and starting to see more open houses showings get booked through kind of online presentation, and just seeing a lot more intentionality online from a real estate side, but then also from a shopping side, where we're starting to see all of, you know, not just Amazon and Walmart and all these classic marketplaces do really well, but seeing these younger marketplaces and younger brands really excelling online during COVID, and shoppers starting to get more comfortable furnishing their homes without necessarily needing to go into a store to make purchases. So point being, in this new post-COVID environment, we see the need for great presentation being larger than ever, and we find ourselves uniquely positioned to be the kind of the shepherds for both realtors and makers with their presentation, their content. So we're going to continue to stage, because it starts staging a vacant home. Just, it needs to be designed well to present well. So it starts with the staging, but then we're now off in the photography. And then we just this week have launched our content studio, Now realtors can easily add Matterports, floor plans. They can add on Twilight. They can add on video, and that's something we're handling through our team. So it's super turnkey. So you book a staging with us, and then you already get the photos, but then you can also add 5 other things, and we'll continue to learn about what the market and what realtors need, and kind of shift our business acumen towards what makes the most sense for our customers, and retaining them long term. I think that's something we take a ton of pride in, is as we've learned this need of realtors as we grow, what can we continue to make realtors really enjoy working with us long term and building a long term relationship. It's not about the first transaction. So I think photography is just a huge piece that's jump started a much larger dive into an exploration into the power of presentation. So that's something that we've learned, the kind of power of presentation. I think we've begun to just grow our business in different ways while at the same time still having a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't realize how like business modeled the guest house is. I mean, obviously because you're a business, but just looking on your website, you're like, we sold all of our stuff in our house and we started guest house, and now it's a thing, and and it looks great, and let's connect. So
yeah, we try to be pretty approachable with like our language and how we speak. We're formal where I'm at, and then I think in the marketing stuff sometimes we want people to know that we're a neighbor, and we're a member of the community, and at the end of the day we're super humble with the growth. We know that there's no one else to thank besides all of the realtor partners and shoppers and makers and all the people who read our website. That's who we're thanking at the end of the day for the growth, because that's what's really driven us forward. So yeah, we try not to take ourselves too seriously, but at the same time expect a lot out of ourselves. So it's a good balance.
yeah. How many people do you have on your team now? You said you have 8 photographers. You have designers who are your gateway keepers. There's you, and do you have a co-founder?
No. So we have 8 designers, 8 photographers, 15 designers. We have a content manager, we have a design manager, we have a marketing manager, and then we have a kind of development team for our website, our platform. We have a tech platform that everything runs on that we've built internally. And then we have a team of 7 interns. So we are really big on interning and fostering growth for CU. So we have a partnership with CU's environmental design program there. And I think we found an opportunity to provide a really great first step into hands-on design experience for CU students. I think a lot of the stuff they're learning there is amazing, and they're just so smart, and they're so proficient in all these crazy programs. But a lot of them, they're interested in interior design, and they don't get a lot of the practical experience there. So our team of 15 designers and our design manager provide a really great network for them to just engage and start to build a little bit of experience and confidence around just the hands-on side of interior design and what it takes to like source and plan and deal with clients and grow in that way. Because you can learn a million programs, but at the end of the day you get thrown into a job, and sometimes a lot of the simple stuff you just didn't really dive into yet. So we're helping. I like to think we're helping round them out a little bit, but most of them I feel like are smarter than me when I get talking with them, and it's just impressive to kind of see the talent that's coming out of the local colleges here. So we're really committed to continuing to grow our internship program and figure out ways that not only deliver value to our business and help us grow, but really deliver meaningful impact to them, so they can leave the semester just feeling like they have a takeaway they can apply to the real world.
So why did you choose to do the partnership with the environmental design program versus just like a regular design program? And not to say regular is like regular, but like a version of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so the environmental design, from my understanding, and if someone listens to this that's part of the CU education system, please please correct me. But from my understanding is there isn't really a track for students there it's super clear to like go down if they want to do interior design. So environmental design tends to be the closest overlap. And so a lot of those students then are kind of left craving some interior design experience, and we're hopefully filling that need a little bit. And we just have a great partnership with their advisor over there, and we tend to just have great rapport. So we're continuing to just figure out, new roles and better challenges for the students.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was sort of wondering if the environmental design had to do with like, I know some of your vendors are more sustainable minded. They use like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So environmental design, it's like slightly nuanced. I think what it means there isn't so much like designing for the environment. It's kind of designing for environments, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, the difference
yeah,
between like environment, like ecology, and environment that your home is an environment.
yeah, that's just one environment, right? But they're also designing for like, I think some of them have designed restaurants, or some of them have designed new schools. I mean, large projects, but it isn't super focused on, how do you have a successful career in the residential space. So yeah, just one example of how the different projects can go is there was one student who talked about a project they had. Their senior project was they designed that went from the ocean to the foothills in San Clemente, and it was for crabs to cross over so they get crushed on the freeway.
That's so cool.
So it's like, it's really, they're thinking through things and being critical and dreaming, which is amazing. But I think when it comes to the practical application, we're hoping we can help fill that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's so important actually, I'm gonna dive into like a school tangent for just a minute, but it's so important for students to get internships and get some sort of experience before graduating. It just really helps with like the mentality of understanding what's to come.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Big proponent of it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you would like me to know about Guest House that I haven't already asked about?
I think we've probably covered quite a bit, and I probably repeated myself a million times too. So I apologize if you listen back through this and you're like, oh, it wasn't actually that interesting. You kind of just said the same thing the whole time.
I think you said something different the whole time. I don't think
All
I
right.
said anything twice.
Yeah. No, I mean, feel free to reach out if you have more questions about our business. But I think I'm really excited about where we are at in history, I think as a whole, and where the real estate market is going, especially in Colorado. I think it's an honor for us to be able to work with the agents that are growing this market, and the makers and brands that are producing amazing goods in this market. I don't think there's too many cities where you really have an intersection like that of just such awesome people at the end of the day. I think that's my biggest takeaway with our business, and why we've been successful is we've had the huge opportunity and lucky place in history to be able to work with amazing people on the real estate and the maker side. So I'm just excited for all the challenges with COVID. I think have come a lot of, also on the flip, a lot of renewed vision and renewed focus. So for us, we've definitely shifted business model and in the way we relate to our community and what we value in our community. And I'm hoping that, and I'm assuming and hoping and seeing and witnessing that other people are doing the same. So I think as COVID continues to challenge markets across the US, I think we're just excited to see how Denver changes and evolves, and just be there to support it however we can. So if you are interested in learning more about our business, or getting a free staging quote, you can go to guesthouseshop.com. If you want to shop our any of our homes and furniture, art, and goods from over 450 local makers, you can go there as well, just to see our homes and hopefully hit the like button and get inspired to maybe make your next move. You can follow us on Instagram at Guest House Shop. And then if you ever want to drop me a line, I'm an open book, and I love just meeting new people. So you can email me at alex@guesthouseshop.com. So I think we covered quite a bit. Anything else? Do you have anything else for me?
No, I think that's all my questions for now. If I come up with some later, maybe we'll do a round two podcast. But I think I
All
really like
right.
the business model. It was really great to get some insight as to
Thank
exactly
you.
what you do and how you got started and how you interact with the community from the vendor side and from, like you said, the customer side, which is largely real estate agents, which I think is very interesting. So I like as a real estate agent, I'm always surprised when people are like, "No, real estate agents are my number one customers." I'm like, "Oh, well, that makes sense actually." So
Everyone's people at the end of the day. That's how I look at it. And I think agents are some very smart people we're lucky to be able to work with. So yeah, I agree.
yeah, Alex, well, I look forward to having Guest House be staged in one of my future listings,
Let's
and
do it.
I definitely have someone to refer to you to see if they could be in your collection as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Have a great day, Alex. It was awesome to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to hopefully working with you soon.
Explorers of Modern Ways, thank you so much for tuning in today. You can find more of me on Instagram at Moving with Madison and YouTube, Moving with Madison. YouTube is where I post the video recording of each episode, so you can watch along if you please. I hope you learned something new today, and that helps you take a tangible step towards creating your eco-friendly home.